Diets don't work. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to kind of dive into why they don't, why they are not the best method, whether you are trying to lose or gain weight, the harmful effects of them, and more. So strap in and get ready for episode 165. Let's go.
The future of fitness.
How do you gain muscle mass?
Fitness is not complicated. It's simple when you break it down.
There's so much information out there.
No fads, no diets, just plain simple habits.
You're listening to the Bones to Bulk podcast.
Hey, welcome to today's episode. My name is Brian Parody. I will be your host today, and thank you so much for tuning in. If this is your first time listening, welcome to the show. And for my return listeners, thank you so much for coming back. I know your time is valuable, and it means the world to me that you've chosen to come back and listen again. Before we dive into today's content, if you have not checked out our YouTube channel, please head on over to youtube.com/bones to bulk. Check out all of our videos on there. I have full workouts, tons of videos on nutrition, like you name it. And everything's divided up into playlists, so things are easy to find. So again, youtube.com/bones to bulk, and be sure to subscribe to the channel. It would be greatly appreciated. All right, without further ado, let's get started. So when it comes to diets, they are all the rage, right? The first thing that pops in our heads when we think of losing weight is, I'm going to go on a diet. And diets are not helpful. They're not helpful. Let me dissect this a little bit before I just write them all off. So there's lots of different diets. You've got keto and vegan and vegetarian and carnivore, paleo, Mediterranean. Like the list goes on and on and on. And I'm not going to say that there are certain aspects. Like, for instance, I get people who want to go vegan or vegetarian. Like a lot of times it's more of a moral issue than it is the actual food. So I get that. I understand that and I respect it. I know a lot of people who are vegan who do an awesome job with it. So I don't want to discredit that and just kind of lump that with the others. There are some that I think are harmful, that, for example, keto and carnivore, I do very much think are just not healthy for our bodies. And the thing I don't like about diets is you go into a diet and what is your mindset going in? I'm going to go on this diet. I'm going to lose the amount of weight I need to lose, and then I'll go back to regular eating, right? Well, that's cool and all, but what happens when you go back to eating regularly? Does all the weight come back? I train a lot of people. I talk to a lot of people, and time again, I talk to people who have gone on keto, and yes, they lose weight and the weight comes off and they hit their goals. But then often, as soon as they go back to their normal way of eating, all the weight plus some comes back. And so they're back to square one. And the really frustrating thing about it is that, you've gone through this whole process, you've lost all this weight, and then it all comes back. And then you're even more down about your fitness goals than you were when you started, because you're like, well, I must just not be able to, I'm just destined to be this way. I can't lose the weight. I can't gain the weight, whatever it is. And that's not the case at all. It's just that the program you were on sets you up for failure. And that's what diets do. They set us up for failure. If diets were super successful, do you think there would be so many of them? Why would there be so many different diets if any one of them just worked amazingly well? Like, there is a reason that there's always new diets coming out, because people spend money on diets, so it's a money-making thing. And two, they don't work. So it's always like, oh, I tried this diet, let me try this diet. Oh, I tried that diet, let me try this diet. And it becomes this yo-yo kind of thing of where you've probably heard the term yo-yo dieting. You jump in one diet, you jump out of it, you jump in another one, and never really get to where you want to be. And it's just always this struggle. Well, the reason for that is diets cut out whole food groups. They say, you know what, we're not going to eat any carbs, and just cut that entire food group out. There's only 3 food groups. We have fat, we have protein, and we have carbohydrates. And our body needs all 3 to function at an optimal level. And so when we cut any one out, it's not healthy at all. And then you take something like carnivore, and we're not eating fruits, we're not eating vegetables. I mean, come on, let's break this down to some common sense. Even when we're kids, even if we were raised in an unhealthy home, our parents usually told us to eat our vegetables. Why? Because we know innately that eating vegetables is good for us. Like, even if your diet sucks, you probably know, hey, vegetables are good for me. So we get away from the common sense things and we buy into these, fad diets, and it's like, oh, well, it worked for this person, and that study shows this and that study shows that. There are 1,000,001 studies out there that contradict each other. Studies have so many variables in it. And, my wife, she went to school. She has her master's degree in clinical psychology, and a big part of their schooling is to understand how studies are done. And what I learned by her going through that and her explaining the process through me, studies are so variable. In other words, you take a very, very small amount of people, you put them through a study, and then you get the results. But so many variables are not accounted for, and these studies are determined off people's self-reporting. So that's taking these people's words that they followed everything they were supposed to in the study, and you just can't, you can't take one study and say, oh, well, this study shows this, so it must be true. That's kind of what I'm breaking that down. I don't mean to get off on a tangent about studies, but my point is you've got to do what has been proven to work. And what is proven to work to lose weight is a calorie deficit. Even people that go on keto or whatever and actually lose weight, you're not losing weight because you cut out carbs. You're losing weight because you're in a caloric deficit. That's why. And yes, carbs usually are very calorie dense. So they have a lot of calories in them. So yes, when we cut out all carbs, we're lowering our overall calorie intake, which then loses weight. It has nothing to do with the fact that we're not eating carbs. It has to do with the fact that we're eating a lot less food and a lot less calories, and so we're losing weight. Now, you can eat carbs and still eat in a deficit and still lose weight. Absolutely 100%. I eat a good amount of carbs, and carbs are a great source of fuel. They are our body's first choice of energy, of fuel. I feel better when I eat them. My lifts go up when I eat them. And so to ignore that fact would be foolish on my part. So, okay, what do I do then? If these diets suck, how the hell am I supposed to lose weight, right, Brian? All right, so again, it comes down to the basics. Eat good, healthy food from all food groups. Healthy proteins, healthy fats, healthy carbohydrates. And you might say, well, what are healthy foods in those? Okay, let's break it down. Healthy fats, avocado, olive oil, tree nuts. Those are healthy fats. Healthy proteins, lean meats, non-fat yogurts, non-fat milk, chickpeas, beans. Beans fall more into the carbohydrates, which is a healthy carbohydrate, but they also contain protein. And then we jump into our carbs, things like whole wheat pasta, whole wheat breads, quinoa, oatmeal, rice, potatoes. All these things are great sources of fuel for our bodies. So no, I'm not saying gorge on Cheetos and pizza and expect to lose weight. But what I'm saying is you can eat a healthy plethora of foods from all food groups. Eat in a deficit and you will lose weight. Here's what makes this such a better option than a diet, because it's sustainable. That keyword, sustainable. In other words, you can enjoy foods from all food groups. You don't have to completely cut one out and be miserable and then get off the diet and everything go back to hell. You can sustain what you eat. And when you start eating better food, you're going to feel better. Your energy levels go up. Your mental clarity becomes better. You begin to be satisfied with less food because you're eating wholesome, nutritious food that actually fills you up. I guarantee you, if I were to go in the kitchen and cook a chicken breast and some vegetables and some rice and eat it, I would be full for hours. And it's very calorically low. It's probably under 500 calories. On the other hand, I could go to McDonald's and order their double cheeseburger with a fry and drink and consume 1,300 calories, and I'm hungry an hour later. Why? Because it's empty calories that do nothing for my body. It's not nurturing my body. It's not filling me up. It's not satisfying the actual human needs we have to consume food. It's just empty calories that satisfy our taste buds. So I know I get all on a rant about this stuff, but I get fired up over food because when it all comes down to food, food is the key to everything, and it is so simple and it's so overcomplicated. So I hope this helps clear some things up for you, and I hope you take it to heart and don't worry about a diet. Just eat in a deficit, eat from all food groups, and you'll hit your goals. All right, with that being said, if you are not a part of our text community, please text the word podcast to 706-222-7551. It's just a great way for me to stay in touch with you. I send out a few weekly texts. You can text me at that number and ask me any questions, and I respond to all my texts a couple times a week, so I may not hit you right back up, but I will respond. All right, thanks so much for listening, and remember, above anything else, all the struggles, all the worries, all the roadblocks, you can hit your goals. You've got this.